Are you ready to turn heads? Luxury isn't just worn, it's experienced. Introducing a Layla Cara style and new up-and-coming designer collection where exclusive shoes and bags for men and women meets your feet. How about you take a handbag and wear it in style, where each piece is personally designed by Layla Cara herself and handcrafted from the finest material in Italy. Leather, smooth like butter, bold, timeless, distinctly you. Step into true elegance and make your mark with a Layla Cara style where confidence meets craftsmanship. Visit a Layla Cara style and experience the luxury of art that you wear. Hey everybody, I just want to say this is my 100th episode. So I thought about what should I do for my 100 episodes? Should I do something simple or should I do something easy or just something laid back? What should I do? So I have decided to do something laid back, easy, and simple. I just can't just do one. I got to do it all, right? So welcome to my podcast. And as you may know, I have been doing a whole lot of things from the past 2 years. So we're going on 2 years, 2 years actually of improving yourself, for yourself, all that. So what I want to do is talk about what took place in 2024 for me. So it's a lot. I just cannot sit back and think of one topic to talk about because I was thinking what should I talk about? Should I just talk about one thing? But it's so many things happened this year to where I think I just want to share it all. So if you have time to listen, just sit back and just listen. So that's what we're going to start with. So in the beginning of 2024, I had decided that I was going to bring awareness to my business, Imaging Coaching LLC, stress management. And that right there was the goal. That's what the goal was, right? So, I got started off doing that, but then over time, things took a turn. I ended up stumbling upon something spectacular that I didn't really know I was stumbling across, okay? So what was I stumbling across? First off, let me share something. I had this dream. In the dream, I saw myself walking down the street, and as I was walking, I ran across somebody I knew, an old preacher that used to be my pastor when I was a little girl. And his daughter had just passed away. She had passed away of a heart attack. Well, one of his daughters, he had a lot of kids, but one of his daughter had passed away with a heart attack and everything. And I was like, okay, going up to him to talk to him, and he was outside pruning the flowers and messing around in the garden and stuff like that. And it was in the front yard. His garden was in the front yard. Most people garden is in the backyard, but his was in the front yard. And he haven't seen me in a while, and we was excited to see each other. And I was like, hey, how you doing, Pastor? And he was like, hey, come over here and come talk to me. And I sat down and talked to him. Then he started asking me about my personal life, like what you been doing with yourself. And then I said, well, I started this business, and I was trying to tell him about it, but it was almost like he wasn't really interested in it, because he was more so like, okay, you started a business, that's good, but what have you really been doing with yourself? And I was like, well, that's what I've been doing. And then I happened to look inside the window of his house, and I saw his daughter in there with her son, and how they was just laughing and everything, and they was also in there with their grandchildren and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, I want to go inside and say hi. He's like, no, you can't go in there. And I was like, why not? He said, no, you can't go up in there. And I said, okay. He said, sit on the porch with me and let's talk. So as I sat on the porch to talk to him, he started telling me some things about the future. And I'm thinking like, okay. And he said, just look out there and look. And as I was looking, I saw flowers, and I saw lots and lots and lots of flowers. And I didn't know what that meant, but I just knew I saw a lot of flowers. And he said, that is where your business is going. And I was thinking, what? I'm going to be selling some flowers? What do that got to do with stress management? And he was like, you'll find out. And then I woke up. So that was my dream. Well, I didn't understand that. And like I said, that was at the beginning of the year. So I didn't understand what that was. So I just left it alone. So I decided to just go ahead and continue with my everyday life and continue what I've been doing. So as time went on and the months rolled by, so I had to deal with some things with my son. Now, remember I talked to you guys about my son, right? This little boy, he's 11 years old now. He has a curious mind, but at the same time, he knows what he's doing. So he does things on, basically, if it's something he wants, he will sneak to do it. And I have to get on him. Me and my husband, we have to stay on him. I mean, stay on him. And it's to a point where we're like, what can we do to get him in a position where he will understand that he can't do everything he wants to do? He have to understand that we're parents and he's the child. So at this time, he is going out the window, his bedroom window, and he's running over to his friend's house in the next apartments that's next to our home. And I mean, we don't know this now. Come to find out, I looked on the camera. My husband actually noticed something was off with him coming back in the house. And then I started digging through the footage of the camera, and I saw him jumping out of the window. Well, this particular night, when I decided to put a stop to it, we called the police, and the police put out a missing report or missing poster on him, because we really didn't know exactly where he was at. And when we did find him, he was at his friend's house. The problem that I have with that is adults. I don't know what type of breed of parents are out here, but when I was growing up, if a child came over to the house, like if one of my friends, if they were to come over to our house, my mom would ask 101 questions. Who are your parents? What's your first and your last name? Where y'all live at? And do your parents know that you're here? And if they do know that you're here, I need to know that they know. So give me your phone number so I can call your parent and ask them if it's okay for you to be here. At least I can tell them where you are. These people did not do that. And I mean, absolutely, they did not call. They didn't text. It was no communication, period. And this lady been having my son over to her house quite often, come to find out after I got down to the nitty gritty of finding out what's really was going on. And I said, you did not think it was strange at this time my son was 10. You did not think it was strange for a 10-year-old to be at your house after 8 p.m.? It's dark outside. You don't think to say, hey, don't you need to be going home? And she was like, yeah, I did say that to him, but he would say that you told him it was okay. I said, come on now. Because I did threaten to press charges on her. I sure did. I said, I would never have let your child, any of your children, be at my house without you knowing about it. And so because we didn't know, we had to call the police. And now the police is asking me, do I want to press charges against you for housing him like that? And not only that you have him here today, you have had him over here several times. So you have no right to have my kid in your house without me knowing. And then on top of that, I told my child he is not allowed to go inside of people's homes, especially if I haven't met the parents. So, of course, after all that, they end up moving. They got evicted. I don't think it was because of us. I think it had something to do with something else. Maybe she didn't pay her rent or something. But a few months later, they got evicted, and I don't have to worry about him running over there to their house no more. But the problem is that we had to find a way to get him to understand that you can't just be sneaking out the house. I thought that by the time that children start sneaking out the window would be teenage years. I didn't know it was going to be before that. These breed of children are different. I'm serious. They are not like what I'm used to. Most of the time, whenever a teenager wants to leave out of the house, it's usually around age 15, 16, 17. Because then they think they're grown. They smelling themselves. And, puberty then took over. And they really got some hormones raging and stuff. But this little boy of mine ain't even gotten to puberty yet. He's starting puberty, but it ain't came in full blast yet. And I'm saying, are you serious? You're seriously out here in the dark, roaming around, going to some little girl's house? Because that's exactly whose house he was over. This little girl that he called himself liking.
We'll be back after a quick break.
If you haven't already, check out my luxury shoe and bag collection, a Layla Cara style. Each piece is personally designed by me and handcrafted from genuine Italian leather. Whether you're dressing up or keeping it casual, these pieces were made to help you walk with confidence. Because real style starts from how you feel. Go to alaylacarolstyle.com and experience these bold, timeless, and completely all you. Check it out. You might find something you like. Oh my goodness. I'm like, you're too young to have this type of behavior. But what I'm finding out is that they are learning very quickly what we learn later. So I have already had the birds and the bees talk with my son. And no, I do not call it the birds and the bees. I call it having sex. I have already had that conversation with him. I have had to. I had no choice. If you're running over to some little girl's house after dark, that tells me you have sex on the brain. So, and then this little girl is allowing you to be in the house and her mother is allowing that too. Something's wrong. I don't like it. So I had to have the conversation with him. I let him know about STDs. I showed him some pictures of what herpes look like. I showed him pictures of what gonorrhea look like coming out of the penis. I mean, I am not playing. I am serious. I'm like, if you are out here and you start having sex unprotected, you get an STD, these are the things that can happen to you. I mean, yeah, let alone get someone pregnant and then make me a grandmother. I mean, come on now. So, and then let me tell you now, when I asked him about, are you ready to be a daddy? He had the nerves to tell me, that's okay, because you'll take care of it. I almost lost it. Like, literally, almost lost my freaking mind. I told him, first off, you get some little girl pregnant, I'm not taking care of nobody's baby. Yeah, I'll be a grandmother, but I'm not raising this child. Her mother better be ready to take care of it. And you are going to step in and do whatever you got to do to help raise that kid. I said, now, hopefully you don't get no child before you turn 16, because I know that you can't work. But you 16 and you can get a job, baby, and you will work to support your child, because you're not going to be no deadbeat. It ain't happening on my watch. So we went through all this spiel, and I'm telling you, these kids, they are different. I don't understand the breed that's out here. I really don't. What are we doing, you guys? What are we doing? What are we literally teaching our children? How are we going about getting them to understand that what is happening in this world today, they need to pay more attention to the choices that they're making? Because back when I was growing up, a child got pregnant, she had options, what to do. Abortion, adoption, raise the kid, whatever it may be. Now, these options have really gotten really slim. Now you can't get an abortion. I'm not saying I condone abortion, but I am going to say this. I condone a person being able to do whatever they want with their own body. That's what I do condone. If the woman or the girl decides that she wants to go out and not have a kid, then hey, that's on her. I think that's her choice. But to have that choice taken away, I don't like that. So now we're in a whole different era in life where we have to teach our children, you don't have that choice. You're going to have that baby. Unless a miscarriage happened, but you're going to have that baby. And fathers got to step up and be fathers. So all this is happening, and it's so, I didn't think I was going to have this conversation with my child at 10 years old. I thought I was going to have this conversation when he turned 12. That was my goal. When he turned 12 years old, I'm going to have the birds and bees talk. But then they learning too fast and too early. So you can't have that talk at no 12. It gotta be way before that. And then not to mention you got the internet with porn. These children are getting a hold of porn so early because they have these phones that are not censored. So the phone that I have for my son, he didn't have a phone during that time. I wish I would have gave him a phone. My son just got his phone. He just got a phone at 11 years old. I should have got that phone for him before, but I was trying to protect him from the world. I was trying to protect him from the internet and all the stuff that was going on out here in the world. So I didn't want to get him a phone, not just yet. Well, I see that doesn't matter, because he had told me that he had already seen porn on one of our cousins' phone. And I'll say, well, hold up. You're telling me that you're watching porn? And he was like, no, Mom, I didn't really watch it, but he showed it to me. Because I asked what he was doing, and he just showed it. And I was like, no, I don't want to watch that, but I'm letting you know I saw it. And he's watching it all the time. And this little boy is 14 years old. But he had been watching it since he was 12. And his mother knows about it. My cousin, she know about her son watching porn, and she does nothing about it. And that drives me nuts. And because of that reason, I don't let my son hang around with him anymore. I said, nope, you won't be hanging with him no more. You're not going to be going over to his house. He ain't coming over here to our house, family or no family. Some people you got to X out, especially if they're corrupting your mind or they're bringing in trouble. And I don't want that around you. I don't want my son to be influenced by that, because I don't want my son going to school and he think he can say something disrespectful to some little girl. It ain't happening. Or do something disrespectful. No. So that's the thing that I'm trying to learn about and teach my son to not do. And I tell him that, hey, you touch a little girl inappropriate, your little butt can go to jail. Yeah, because that's a sexual assault. I don't care how you probably look at it. You don't have the right to touch anybody in the private part. So I have to get on him about those things and talk to him even more in details. And I say, oh my goodness, everything it's advanced. Everything is not like it used to be. It's like the world has speeded up. Everything around us is going so fast. For the past couple of months, and I take that back, for the past 6 months, I've been paying attention to how fast time has been going. And I will wake up, and by the time it's time for me to go back to bed, I literally feel like I have just woken up for the day. And I'm saying to myself, why do I feel like I just got out of this bed and here I am taking a shower, getting ready to go back to bed? What happened today? What happened in my day? Everything is going so fast to where I can't even really remember everything that happened because it have happened so fast. Like, for instance, today, when I got up, took my son to school, I got home, I stayed up for a little while, just messing around on my phone, and then I laid back down and I went back to sleep. I got up by 11:30, and then I know I started working on some stuff for the business, and then before you know it, the alarm went off telling me that I need to get dressed for work. And then I got dressed for work, I got to work, and then I'm back in the bed. Like, it's just like that. It was like, what did I do today that was really productive? But not only that, what did I do today, period, that makes sense? Because it went by so fast. Here it is right now, 11:37 p.m. Houston time, Central time. Not in Houston right now, but still I'm in the central area of the United States. And I'm saying to myself, wow, time is speeding up. I mean, literally, time is speeding up. And we are getting old. And I mean, think about it. My birthday is about to be in the next, 4 months? Well, 5 months. 5 months, I would say 5 months. Because December is not here yet. But I feel like I just turned 46. And I'm saying to myself, I'm about to be 47. Time is going too fast. If I could just slow time down, I really would. I really would. If I was Mother Time, I would slow time down just so I can enjoy a little longer in a day. Because it doesn't last long at all, you guys. It doesn't last long at all. So, since I'm on that topic, I want to share some more details about my year. It's been a real trying year for me. And what I mean by that is, I've talked about narcissism. I have books on narcissism. I have courses on narcissism. I even shared my experience with narcissism from my ex-husband, from my mother, from all that, Well, sadly, my second husband, the one that I went through so much with dealing with narcissism, has passed away. He died August the 22nd, 2024. And I'm telling you, it's been really rough for me mentally and emotionally. And, when I first found out, let's take it back. Before I got the confirmation that he had died, I already knew he had died. And I know you probably say to yourself, what you mean? Well, let me explain. So, the kind of person I am is that when something is about to happen, I get dreams. Okay? Remember I told you about the first dream about the flowers and all that, right? Well, I'm going to come back to that. So, I get dreams, and in my dreams, things are shared with me about future situations. And a lot of the times, they be good. But then there's times when they're not good. And when I have these dreams, they're messages. It don't always be precise of what's going to take place in full detail, but the message is so strong to where I know exactly what it's actually telling me. And so I had a dream about my ex-husband was trying to talk to me, and I was in places like Starbucks. I seen him in Starbucks, and I would take off running because I didn't want to talk to him. And then I would see him in places like a restaurant, and I would see him there, and I would take off running. And then I would see him in another place, and everywhere I was going, he was popping up to where I kept running. And then eventually I stopped running, and I say, why are you following me? I don't want to talk to you. That's one of the things I said in the dream. And he still couldn't talk to tell me anything. It was like his mouth wouldn't open, and he was just there. And then I said, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. And I left. And then I had another dream. Like maybe a week later, I had another dream. Actually, it wasn't even a week later. It was within the same week. I had another dream. And this time he came to me again. He was trying to talk to me again. He told me, I want to tell you something, and you need to listen. And I wouldn't listen. I still wouldn't listen. And I was like, I don't want to hear it. And I say, look, just leave me alone, something like that. And then I walked off. And then that particular morning, when I woke up that morning, I woke up to brush my teeth and wash my face and start fixing my hair and makeup, right? And I felt something on my right side brush up against my arm, like a person, like a human being, like someone would touch you and just rub your shoulder. And I was like, wait a minute. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel that energy. And then the thought came to my mind, and I kid you not, the thought came to my mind. I said, what if he's dead? And I said, nah. And I said, but what if he is dead? And then I asked myself the question. I said, if he's dead, would you go to his funeral? And then I was sitting there brushing my teeth, and I started thinking, I said to myself, I was like, I don't know if I would go to the funeral. I don't know about that. And then after I finished rinsing my mouth out and everything, and I said, you know what? Nah, I go to his funeral. I would. I said, I wouldn't be that mean. I go. And then I went to work, and a couple of days went by. And then I got a phone call from his cousin in early morning, and I didn't answer the phone. And I said, his cousin never calls, so something is definitely wrong. And then I end up saying, okay, well, I'm in Mexico right now. I'm going to go ahead and finish, my flight. And when I get back to Houston, then I'll see what he wants. And then I got back to Houston and everything, and then his cousin called again. I didn't answer. I just didn't answer. I don't know why I didn't answer. I just didn't, because I already knew what it was, and I didn't want to hear it. And so I was on the phone with one of my sisters, and we was just talking about a lot of things that was happening in her world and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I said, let me call you back and let me see what he wants. His cousin's calling me, and I don't know why. I think I know why, but let me just find out. And I returned the phone call. And soon when I returned the phone call, he answered his phone, and I said, "Is he dead?" That was the first thing that came out of my mouth. "Is he dead?" And he said, "Whoa, whoa, wow. Why would you say that? Like, oh my goodness, why would you say that?" I said, "Because I feel like he's dead. I feel it. I can tell. He's not here anymore. I can feel it. It's just something about," I said, "I already had 2 dreams about him. And then I felt something brush up against me, energy wise. It wasn't like, I can just feel that he's not here. And I feel like he's trying to tell me he's not here. And he's doing it now that he can't get my attention the way he was trying to in the dream. He's going to have you do it." And he said, "Well, to confirm your answer, technically he's not completely dead, but it's like he is, because he's in a coma, and he's been in a coma for about 2 weeks now." And I say, "Wow, okay. Now I get why I had the dream a week ago, and then the same week. Okay, now it makes sense." And then he said, "But they're talking about pulling the plug in the next couple of days." And I say, "Damn, man, I'm not happy with that." And so he said, "I'm just letting you know." He said, "I know y'all had y'all situation and everything, but love never dies." And I said, "Yeah, that's true. It don't. I do still love him, but I just know that I couldn't be with him no more." And he was like, "Yeah, just wanted you to know." So what ended up happening, to make a long story short, is that I talked to his mother. And when I talked to his mother, it was a for sure thing that let me know that he's really gone. And after I talked to her, she asked me, was I coming to the funeral? And I say, interesting how I was talking to myself about if I was going to go or not. And she was like, "I really wish you would be here. I really do." And I said, "Okay, for you, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the funeral for you." I understand how that could be painful to lose your child, even though I don't know what that's like, and I don't want to know, but I can understand. I'm your only daughter-in-law. I'm the only daughter-in-law you ever had. He never married anybody but me, so I understand, and I'm going to be there for you. So I end up going to the service. So many things happened the night before the funeral, to where it was the weirdest thing I have ever experienced. And I mean weird. So the night before the funeral, I had checked myself in the hotel. I got to Omaha and everything. And I went into the room and everything. And the hotel that I was in was one of the hotels that him and I had been to before. Because, my job, we have hotels and stuff like that. In certain places, we go to the same hotel pretty much a lot. And this particular hotel, I have been at this hotel with him before, so I felt immediately something there. But I didn't really, I just felt different. I felt strange, and I felt alone. And so when I was there, I was like, I didn't know what to expect the next day. I didn't know. And I'm about to tell y'all everything, I'm about to tell y'all about what took place, some things that I didn't even discuss. So I'm just going to get into it. So when I got there, I felt like the room was kind of cold. And then I said, okay, well, let me heat it up and put some heat on, because I'm not really comfortable with the dampness of the room. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna go get something to eat. And I went across the street to go get some food, and it was one of the spots that him and I have ate at. It's a lot of memories, you guys. And I'm telling you, emotions. Oh my goodness, all my emotions started flooding back to me. And I mean flooding back, you guys. And I am feeling so much that I've never thought I was. I can't even explain my feelings. All I do know is that I was angry, I was hurt, I was sad. I don't know. I was all that, because I was like, why? I was mad because of the fact that he could have survived. Diabetes is what took him out. He had diabetes, you guys. And he didn't take his diabetes serious to where it turned into hypertension. So he had high blood pressure. And then, high blood pressure, if your blood pressure stay up too long, it started messing with your organs. So then he ended up developing stage 5 kidney failure. And then he was on dialysis. Come to find out that he had coded once before, 2 weeks before he actually went into the coma. And they had brought him back. And his cousin told me during that time when he had coded, after he was brought back, that he had talked to him and he was crying and saying, he was pouring his heart out, saying that he was so sorry for how he treated me, that he wished that he could talk to me and ask me for my forgiveness. But see, the thing is that I had already forgiven him. I had forgave him after I had divorced him. I had to let him go. I had to let all that anger go, all that hurt go, all that pain go. I had to let it go. I couldn't hold on to it if I was going to move on with my life. But I guess he really didn't know that because I didn't talk to him anymore after that. But his cousin was like, yeah, he was boo-hoo bawling. He was crying. I think he knew he was finna die because he was like, I messed up. I wish I would have never did her like that. I was so mean to her. She was so good to me. I should have never treated her that way. And when he was telling me that, oh my God, I started crying because I knew, I just knew. I tried my best to be the wife that I thought he needed. I tried to help him with his diabetes. I did research on how to reverse diabetes to try to figure out how you can reverse it. I did a lot of coming up with things that can help him to get his blood sugar level under control and his blood pressure under control. But stubbornness, man, I'm telling you guys, stubbornness is evil. If you are stubborn and you don't want to listen to people and people are giving you valid information that can help you, there's nothing that could be done for you then. I mean, absolutely nothing. And you will have to go through. And that's the problem that made me angry with him, because he didn't have to go through that. If he would have just let go of his pride. And that's one of the things he told his cousin too, that he was prideful. He said, I was full of pride. And every time she would try to tell me something, I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a man, all that kind of stuff. And not knowing that what I was telling him was actually something that could have saved his life. So I was sad because I couldn't vision him being lifeless. I just couldn't vision that. And just the thought of it was hurtful, because we had so much history together. We did so much together. We had a lot of good times, and we had some bad times. And the thing is that all the good time that we had was what kept me in that marriage and kept me with him. But the bad times what made me run. And the bad times was worse. It was hard and it was horrible. It wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so I'm gonna get back to the night. Getting back to the night before the funeral. So I had went for a walk after I had ate. I went for a walk, and it was a lake across the street called a lake. We used to barbecue at that lake, especially during the holidays like Memorial and stuff like that. And I went on the pier where we would sit at and everything, and I was out there by myself. There was nobody out there. It was people walking and jogging and riding their bikes, but nobody on the pier. And I was just soaking up the sun, and then just there basically. And as I was getting ready to walk off the pier to go back to the hotel, it was a gush of wind just blew, and then this piece of paper had flew on the pier, and then I looked at it, and it says, it says, if life hands you wings, hand life a high five. And I say, what? Seriously? Oh my goodness. Is that him trying to tell me that he made it in? Excuse me. You might say a person like that would make it to heaven. Well, one thing I've learned, I have read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. I have read the entire Bible. And I have read a lot of the books in the Bible multiple times. And one thing that I've learned, if you read in Second James and Third James, it talks about, no, not James, John. Second John and Third John. It talks about that every sin is not a sin that will cause you to die. And I've realized that his cousin told me that he was the one who had asked him if he was ready to turn his life over to Christ. And was he ready to repent for all his sins that he had done? And he said, yeah. And he said, I can vouch for him that I was the one that helped him come to Jesus the right way. And he have gotten saved before he died. And I said, okay, that made me feel better, because I had asked him, that's one thing I need to know. Did he ever get his life right with Christ? And he said, yes, he did. That made me feel so much better, because now he's not dying in his sin. And he died. He didn't die in his sin. He did repent. And that helped me to understand that, okay, God will give you a chance all the way into your last breath. You just have to take that chance to acknowledge Christ for who he is. So, to continue on with that night, when I got back to the hotel and I was in the room preparing myself for the funeral for the next day, getting my clothes and everything together and everything. So by the time I was getting ready to go to bed, I laid in the bed, and I don't know, I just felt the need to get up and look out the window. And I looked out the window and I saw his car. It wasn't his particular car, like his car. But what I'm saying was, it was the car that he drove that was outside my bedroom window. And it was the same make and model and year. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? Like, seriously, out of all the cars that can be parked outside my window, why this car? And then I'm looking around like, where are the other cars? That was the only freaking car that was parked in the parking lot at the hotel. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Come on now. At least on that side where I was, I'm pretty sure there was other cars in the front of the hotel, because I was in the back of the hotel. And I was like, what in the world? Now this is some weird stuff. And then I said, well, let me keep looking. And then I realized somebody was sitting in the car. And now at this time, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. So it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 something in the morning. And I'm just like looking, and I'm like, somebody's in that car, but I couldn't really make out who was in the car. I couldn't really get a good, clear view of the person, but I could tell that it was a guy, and I could tell that it was a black guy. And I'm thinking like, oh well. So I said, oh well, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna go to sleep. So I got back in the bed, and then all of a sudden, it got really, really hot in my room. By this time, I had already turned the heat from hot to cold. I turned the AC, cranked it up as cold as I can try to get it, because I can't sleep when it's hot. It have to be really cold for me to sleep. So I had that AC up to like 67, 66, somewhere up in there. That's the highest it can go. But it was hot. I was sweating. I was sweating so badly to where I was like, this AC is broken. It's not working. I almost wanted to ask the person at the front desk, can they trade me rooms? Like, can I get into another room? Because I can't sleep like this. But because it was so late and I knew that I didn't want to pack all my stuff up to go to another room, I decided to just stay where I was. I didn't really sleep. So I was up pretty much the whole night. Yeah, I didn't get any sleep. I was up the whole night pretty much. But I wasn't up watching TV, and I was laying in the bed trying to fall asleep. And it just was so hot. I couldn't bear the heat. So the next day when I got up, I ended up getting dressed and everything, and his cousin had called me and he said, well, I'm gonna come pick you up and take you to the service. And I was like, okay. So I ended up getting to the service. Now, when I got to the church, I started feeling the realness of him being gone. I started feeling how real it really was. I haven't walked through the doors yet, but I could see the hearse outside, and it just melted my heart. It really did. And I didn't want to show no emotion, so I was holding all my emotions in. I held it in. I didn't want to show it. Because I have a hard time crying in front of people. I don't know why, but I don't like crying in front of people. And not just only that, I just don't like people coming up trying to pity pat me. I like, it's okay. I don't want that. So I just don't do it. I'm a crier. I'm a loner. I cry alone. I gotta be by myself and cry, you know? So anyways, after we walked through the doors, the first thing I saw was him lying in the casket. I saw his head. And I wanted to melt. And then I looked up and I looked at the screens, and it's pictures of him all over the screen. Oh, God. I was like, this is so real. He's not here no more. He's really gone. And I'm thinking, I never got a chance to really have that conversation that I wanted to have with him. I really wanted to have a conversation. The conversation I wanted to have with him is basically, I almost wanted to say, why did you do it? Why did you do it? Why did you hit me? Why? Because if you never would have put your hands on me, we would still be married to this day. But because you hit me, I couldn't stay with you. I had to let you go. It's one thing to talk crazy to me, but to put your hands on me, you took it too far. And I couldn't allow myself to get beat up. It's one thing I'm being verbally abused, and I'm being financially abused because you don't want to get a job and I'm paying all the bills. And I'm being emotionally abused because you want to go out here and cheat and call yourself, messing around with these girls on the internet or whatever. But now you want to physically abuse me? Why? Why did you do it? That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to have those kind of conversations, but when you get into a situation like this, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to feel. You just know that you feel a lot of things. So when I walked up to the casket and I saw him in there, just lifeless, no breath in his body, not moving. And he kind of looked the same. Even though it had been 4 years had passed, he kind of looked the same. And I was like, wow, he didn't age much at all. And then I'm sitting here like, man, looking at the suit that he's in. He got on one of the suits that he had on for Easter, the first Easter Sunday after we got married, the same suit. His mother put him in that suit. And then his mother is there talking, and she's sharing her situation of what she had to deal with when he died, and how she wished that she thought, how she felt that he was going to come walk back through the door at least one more time, and how she was hoping that she could take him home at least one more time and all that. And then she say, she asked me to talk. Really? Me? Why me? She was like, here's your microphone. You got some words? And I'm like, you really want me to talk? You want me, out of all the people, to talk? Like, what do I have to say? It's been 4 years since I seen this man. And so I asked his cousin, because I said, you think I should say something? He said, absolutely. I said, oh my goodness. Okay. So I did. I decided to go ahead and take the mic and say some words. So his children was there. Now, let's talk about that. I'm going to tell y'all something. I was married to this man. I was with this man for 5 years. And not one time did I get a chance to meet his kids. He did not introduce me to his children, not one time. And I asked him, why haven't I met your kids yet? He had every excuse in the book why. That bothered me a lot throughout our marriage, because I felt like he was hiding me. Like he didn't want his children to know that he was married or something. And it just really bothered me, because I didn't like the fact that now I get to meet your children at your funeral. Who do that? Like, who does that? Come on now. That's why I say I had so many feelings, you guys. So many feelings. So I ended up going up on the podium, and I started talking. And I told his children, I said, I'm going to tell you guys, if you didn't know, I want to clear the air right now. I was not the one who didn't want to meet you. I wanted to meet you guys. I have asked him multiple times to introduce me to y'all, to let us meet. So, I'm sad that we have to meet this way. I hate that we have to meet this way. But I want you guys to know that I'm still extending the invitation if you would like to get to know me. If any of you say, hey, I would just like to know who the woman my dad had got married to, I'm available, I'm not going to hide anything, none of that, because I know how he was. He was not always 100% truthful. So I'm just letting y'all know that it wasn't me who didn't want to meet y'all. I had to say it because I don't know what he told them. And then, of course, I had other things to say, and I talked about, how each of them should take the time out to acknowledge Christ and get to know him, because they never know when it's going to be their time and all of that, and to embrace each other while you have each other, because you don't know when the last day you will see each other. Of course, I went on and on about some other stuff and all that. And then when I came back to sit down, his cousin was like, that was a good speech. And I say, was it? He said, you hit everything on the nose. You said everything that was need to be said. You did good. So, after we went to the cemetery and everything, it was hard to see them lower the casket in the ground because in Texas, we don't get to see that anymore. They stopped doing that at most funerals because people act a fool when they start seeing the casket being lowered into the ground. I have been to funerals where my cousin, her child had died, and she jumped inside the casket and pulled the baby out while the casket was being lowered into the ground. So they stopped allowing us to be able to be there for the casket to go into the ground. They would say, okay, this is where the service ends, you guys, and then that's it. So when I got to Omaha, I saw that they still do that. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is about to happen? And as they was lowering him into the ground, his mother broke down and his cousin broke down. And I was like, I don't know. I was sitting there still numb. Like, I'm still numb. I still haven't cried. I'm still numb. And I want to cry, but I couldn't. And then after that, we left and we went to the church to go eat the repast, to go eat. And his oldest daughter came and sat directly in front of me. She didn't say nothing at first. She was just there. And her mother sat next to her on her right side. And then her grandmother, which is his mother, sat next to me on my left side. And I'm feeling nervous now. I am. I'm feeling nervous. Why should I feel nervous? But I am, because I didn't get an opportunity to be properly introduced to his children. And then all 5 of his kids are there. And they're looking at me with this look like, so this is who my dad married. You know, they got this look on their face. And all his kids are grown, you know. And they got kids of their own. I'm telling you guys. And I'm sitting here so uncomfortable. And I'm trying to eat my food, but I'm not really like enjoying the food. I'm ready to go. I'm literally ready to go back to the hotel now. Then they got this big old poster of him. And all I see is his face looking directly at me, his eyes. And I'm saying to myself, dude, and I'm looking at the picture and I'm saying, this should not be. This shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be this way. Ain't no way it should be like this. If you would have just introduced me to your children, I wouldn't be feeling uncomfortable right now. I wouldn't be sitting here awkward right now. And they wouldn't be either. So I'm still sitting there. And then finally I broke the ice. I had to say something because I'm like, nobody said anything. But yet y'all stared at me and I could feel the heat. So I asked his oldest daughter, I say, how are your kids doing? Because they wasn't there. Her 2 boys wasn't there. And she's like, oh, they okay. They live in, with their dad. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so finally the ice is broken. And so we started engaging in conversing with each other. And she told me, she said, you said that my dad lived in Houston with you. I didn't even know he lived there. I said, are you serious? She said, no, none of us did. We didn't know that he lived in Houston at all. We just thought he was just going out there to visit, but we didn't know he actually lived there. I said, yeah, we were married for 5 years. And she said, wow, I didn't know that. And I tell you guys, I kid you not, I look straight at that picture and I say, dude, seriously? Really? You kept me hidden like that? But he had me blasting over his Facebook, so I was confused with that part. I said, I thought y'all knew about me because he posted me on his Facebook. She said, my dad got 4 Facebook accounts. I said, oh, that makes sense. Okay, I get it. It's almost like he living a double life. I get it. I see it. Makes sense. I don't really want to know no more. I don't want to hear no more. Now, I'm starting to get in my feelings about everything. So, I just stopped talking. I didn't want to talk no more. I was ready to go. And then his sister came up to me. One of his sisters. And she said, "You're so pretty." She said, "Oh my goodness." She started looking at me. She said, "You're so pretty. Oh my goodness." She kept doing all that. And then she started telling her other sisters, "Look at her. She's so pretty." And I'm like, okay. All right. They knew about me though. His sisters knew about me. That was the strangest because I had went to their house. So of course they knew about me. They knew about me before we got married because I went to their house. But why his kids didn't know about me? That was the strangest thing. Your daddy know about me, your mama know about me, your sisters know about me, your brother know about me, but your kids don't know about me? What's that about? And so one lady, one of his children's mother, she kept staring at me. And I mean, she was staring at me, like sizing me up, looking me up and down, like almost like I can read her thoughts. It's almost like she was saying, who is this girl and what she got that I don't have? Why did he choose to marry her and not me? Because apparently them two had been knowing each other since high school. So I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that I married him and he married me, and that's just the bottom line. So I was just like, but at the same time, there was nothing to brag about because he didn't treat me right in the marriage. So baby, you dodged a bullet. Like if I can tell you the stories, you would be proud of yourself for not getting married to him. Like for real. So after all that, finally it's time to go. And his sister, the youngest one, I would say, she continued to keep talking to me about us, about me and him and stuff like that. And then while she was talking to me, her aunt, which is also his aunt, which is his dad's sister, she came up to me and she started telling me some stuff. And she said, I don't know if this is going to help you or not, but I just want to tell you, I talked to him before he died, and he had a lot to say about you, and he did feel bad about how he treated you, and he did tell me that he hit you. He told me that, and I told him, I wish you wouldn't have done that. I really wish that it wouldn't have happened that way, but I understood why you left him. Because no woman should allow a man to hit her and stay there. But he was devastated. He was hurt behind the divorce for a long time. And I don't think he ever got over the divorce, to be honest, to be truthful. I think that's part of the reason why he probably declined as fast as he did. And she just went on to say more things about how he told her that he wished that he had an opportunity to have another conversation with me, to talk to me and try to fix it. He wished he could have fixed it. And I didn't think that helped me, to be honest. I don't really think that helped me at all. I think it set me back some emotionally, because after hearing everything that took place, knowing that I was already having mixed feelings about him dying and not being able to have the conversation I wanted to have, knowing I'm now meeting your children for the first time, and this is not the way I wanted it to be, and now I'm hearing your aunt, your sisters telling me everything you told them. And I'm saying to myself, what do I supposed to do with all this information, So when I got back to the hotel, I had the obituary. I'm looking at it. I had the flowers that they gave me from the casket. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with these. I'm not going home with these flowers. And I'm just not taking this home. I'm not going to do that. But I will keep a piece of the flower with me. And that's what I did. And I let the rest of them, left them at the hotel. And then I'm like, well, this is the hotel we was here anyway. So, hey, I'm going to leave them right here. And then I sat there on the bed, and then I got a phone call from my husband. He started tripping about not being able to get in touch with me for the whole day. I had already told him that I had went to church. I told him I was in Omaha and everything, but I think he was more worried because he didn't hear from me. And the funeral started late. It started like at 2, and I think it was over with. I got back to the hotel about 6 o'clock, five something, about 5 to 6 o'clock, somewhere from that time. And we were running behind because I remember the preachers. Well, his daddy was the one that did his eulogy, and I remember him saying, "Hey, we're gonna have to wrap this up because we were behind." So, anyways, when I got back to the hotel, I tell you, still some more strange things happening. My husband was mad. And I'm like, he'd never be mad. That's one thing about my husband. He ain't never been mad at me. I mean, yeah, he had, say some stuff, but it never was to a point to this degree of him. He was like, I didn't know what was going on with you. I didn't know something happened to you. I haven't heard from you. I was calling and calling. I called you 13 times and you didn't answer your phone. And I had turned my ringer off. You in the church, you don't want your ringer on. So I'm like, I had my ringer off, and he's like, but still, I could at least know that you was okay and all that. And I said, I text you, which I did text him. I said, I text you and told you I would call you when we leave out of here. What's up with you not having patience? And then he had the nerves to call me by my first name, and my husband don't never call me by my first name. Now, my ex-husband did, the one that died. He always called me by my first name, and I used to hate that because I don't like people calling me by my first name. And when my husband called me by my first name, I didn't even hear his voice. I heard my ex-husband's voice. And when he said Tanya, and the way he said Tanya, I said, whoa. I did just like that. I said, whoa. Wait a minute. We not finna do this. That's what we not gonna do. You're not finna call me by my first name. He said, that's your name. I said, I know that's my name, but you don't never call me Tanya. That's not how you do that. I said, this is not how it is. I said, I understand that you're mad. I get it. But let's not do this. Let's put a pause on this, because now I was starting to get really emotional, and I didn't want to say nothing that was going to cause me and my husband to argue. I didn't want to do that at all. So I said, you know what? I gotta call you back. This is some strange stuff happening. He said, yeah, a lot of strange things are happening. A lot of strange stuff is happening in this house. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I knew something was wrong. I just felt something was wrong. And I could feel something wrong. And things are happening in this house. He said, the fish is going crazy. She's going, the fish is just swimming in circles. Like in circle, like a whirlwind circle. He said, like you would think that there's some kind of tornado in there. He said, then the lights are flickering on and off. And then he say, and then the TV goes on, and it goes off, then it goes on, and it goes off. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then he said, I knew something was wrong. This is some strange stuff. He said, so I started worrying about you. And I'm like, what's going on with her? I can feel something is wrong with you. I can feel it. I know something's wrong with you. And I say, yeah, I'm sad. I'm very sad. And because I'm sad, I can't talk right now. And he was like, I just want to know that you're okay. I just want to know that you're fine. I said, babe, I'm fine. I'm okay. But I do got to call you later. Because at that point, when I got off the phone with him, I broke down. Oh, I broke down. I cried, and I cried, and I cried. Oh, I cried. I cried myself to sleep. I couldn't. And then the craziest thing, I had never changed the temperature. Well, actually, I did. I had turned the AC off. So when I got in the room, I had turned it back on. And I turned the AC back to the same thing that it was on the night before. 67, 66 degrees, somewhere up in there. And then this time, it's freezing cold in the room. I mean, icicle cold to where I had to go and turn that thing down. And I said to myself, this is weird. Last night I had it in the same temperature and it was burning up hot and I was sweating. Now tonight, I'm freezing. I got popsicle. So, when I got ready to catch the plane back home, and I sat in my seat. I had a whole row to myself. I had my coat with me because I didn't know if it was going to be cold or not there. So I had my coat. And I covered my head with my coat. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. The flight left around 6 that morning. So I got up super early to catch that flight. And as I looked out the window at Omaha, leaving that place, I said, I don't know. The next time I come back here, it'll be for work, of course, whenever I have an overnight or something like that or a turn. But it will never be for him in that way ever again. And so I closed the blind up in the shed of the window, and I put the coat over my head. And I cried again. I cried almost the whole flight. I couldn't stop. It wouldn't stop coming out. I mean, I was trying to make myself stop, and I couldn't. And I ended up falling asleep. And then it was time to get off the plane. And I got off the plane. I got home. I felt so different. I didn't feel my normal self. And now it's what? November. So August, September, October, November. So it's 3 months. Almost 4 months since he's been gone. And every single night before I go to sleep, I think about him. And every morning when I wake up, I think about him. I try not to. The thoughts that goes through my mind, this is the reason why I say I don't want to be buried. Like I was telling my aunt, I said I want to be cremated. And I said the same thing to my mom and my husband and my dad. I said I don't want to be buried. I want to be cremated. And the reason why, because I don't like looking at people in the casket. It just does something to me. I don't know why, but it's just weird looking at them lying there lifeless with no breath in their body. Like this is just to me. And then you put them in the dirt. And yeah, they come from the dirt. We come from the dirt. I get that. But it's just knowing that body is there. That does something to me. I don't know. It's a mind thing, you know? So I always think about him lying in that casket in that ground. Like that's where he's at, you know? So there's a thought that goes through my head. And I'm like, he's not there. I know he's not there. I know that. But just to know that's where his corpse is at, it's weird. It's so weird to me. Like just cremate me and just throw the ashes in the air and let me just float on. You know? So anyways, I had to share that with you guys because I haven't really shared that with anybody. I talked to my friend, my mom. She asked me how I felt the night after the funeral. I told her, but I just couldn't get to a point where I can just break everything down the way I felt to where I'm telling y'all now. And one of the things I remember, so my first fiance, so I've been engaged 4 times. I've been married 3 times. So my first fiance, I did not get married to him. But his mother and I are still close. We still talk and everything. And she called me and she asked me how I was feeling and everything. And she knew that I was agitated because how people was coming at me online about just forgive him and move on. They kept saying that. Oh, you're going to have to forgive him and just move on. All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, y'all don't realize that I forgave this man a long time ago. I've been forgave him. I'm not angry with him because of what happened. I'm angry because this didn't have to happen. That's what I'm mad about. This didn't have to happen. This could have been prevented. Like, he could still be here today. He's just not here today because he was freaking stubborn and hard-headed and prideful. That's what I'm angry about. I'm angry because of that, not because of him and none of that. And so she called me and she was telling me, she said, I understand how you feel. She said, I know, because one thing for certain, she read some of the comments and everything that people were saying, and she saw some of the replies that I have put out there. And I even did a video. I did a video explaining to people, stop telling me to forgive him because I have already forgave him way before all this took place. So that ain't the problem. And she was telling me, she said, because she had lost her husband too last year. Her husband had died, and she was explaining to me how she was going through all the emotions and stuff because her husband was a narcissist too, and she was explaining to me all the narcissistic things that he had did, but then he made up for it. She was telling me how he ended up making sure that she got the house, she got the car, making sure that her name was on the, because he was military, that she got a permanent military ID so she can always get the benefits and stuff like that he had. And she was explaining to me that that was his way of saying he was sorry to her because he knew he was dying as well. I think he had cancer or something. And she was telling me that they had long conversations. I said, see, you had that conversation with him. I said, you had the opportunity to have the conversation that I wanted to have. And she was like, yeah. I said, I never got my closure. That's what it was for me. I never got my closure. But she was able to get her closure. And she said, yeah, I truly understand how you feel. When you don't get closure, it can eat away at you. But there's nothing you can do now. He's gone. So you're going to have to just try to let it go in a way to where it doesn't bother you in that way. And I said, it's going to be a while because I'll keep thinking about it should have never been this way. That's how it bothers me. It should have never been this way. That day that me and my ex-husband, when we split, that day it caught me by surprise. We got up to go shopping, to do one of the things that we enjoyed doing the most, which was shop, go buy some stuff. And I'm sitting there getting ready, and I put on this dress that I have worn plenty of times before. And although the dress showed cleavage, my breasts, and not like my breasts wasn't pow all out there, but it was some cleavage showing. And he never said nothing about the dress before. But now you got a problem with the dress. And personally, I say to myself, when I look back at this stuff, I say, I could have just went and changed the dress. But I had gotten to a point at that particular time where I was just fed up with how he was always snapping. There's always something triggering him. And it was very unexpected. And it was always at the wrong, well, it's never the right time to have a trigger. But it was just unexpected because instead of him telling me what was wrong with the dress, he just kept saying, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I was like, what's wrong with my dress? I just don't like it. And I said, but I had this dress on before. I don't care. I don't want you wearing the dress. I said, but you the one who bought me the dress. Which he was the one who bought the dress. And I'm like, so what are you tripping off of? I don't want you wearing. I said, no, I take it back. Was it that dress? No, it was a different dress. He didn't buy me that dress. I take that back. I bought that dress. I bought that dress before we got married. I remember now. But what it was, I had a push-up bra on. I'm already top heavy. So yeah, my boobs was like boom in that dress. Like pow pow like that, like big old Dolly Parton type boobs, And I'm all natural. Ain't nothing fake on me except for my hair. But everything else was real. And I'm telling you, man. But I had put the bra on, and it's a spaghetti strap dress. So I think if I would have just took that bra off, it would probably been a different story. But matter of fact, it would have been a different story because he mentioned that to me. Now that I think about it, he did mention that to me. He said that to me. He said it was the bra that made that dress look different on you. And I'm like, whatever. But that was after the fact when I had already kicked him out when he said that about the dress, about the bra. But either way it go, it was just a typical day, and it just got out of control because he started blowing up and getting loud and screaming, and I just don't like the dress and all this stuff. And then I was like, you don't have to yell at me. Then now I took it to another level from that point. Now it's not about the dress no more. Now it's about you yelling at me. You don't have to yell at me. Like, dang, I will go change, but you don't have to yell. And then he went from that to going to a whole nother story about the situation with my son. At this time, my son was in the CPS, and I was trying to get him out the CPS. And at this time, my son was not my son; he was my nephew at the time. And I was talking about adopting him, and he didn't want me to adopt him. And that's when the problem really escalated right there. When the truth really came out was when he was mad about me talking on Facebook about adopting my son. And he's like, I'm not adopting him. I'm not going to adopt him. And it just went to a point where now he puts his hands on me. Like, he hit me at first, my hand. He hit my hand really, really hard. He pounded because my hand was on top of the kitchen counter and I was getting my coffee. And he dashed coffee on me. That hot coffee, he dashed it on me. And then I said, you know what? I'm out of here. And I went and grabbed the keys. And I was trying to leave. And he grabbed the keys from me. He's like, you're not going to go nowhere. You're not leaving or whatever. He tried to keep me from leaving. And he grabbed the keys out of my hand. And then he grabbed me and slung me around the house. And then he punched me in my face. And then he threw the keys and busted my lip with the keys. And I'm telling you, that was when I said, this is it. This marriage is over. I'm not going to let you do this to me again. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs that I want a divorce. And I was like, this is over. This is over. You're never going to do me like this again. And I'm screaming, I want a divorce. I'm screaming and going on. And yeah, that was one of those moments where I felt like it just happened so fast. And it escalated so quick. And never got an opportunity to really get a closure to that. I never did. I never got my closure to that. It was just, hey, you put your hands on me, you went too far. And I'm not going to let you do this to me ever, ever again. And I'm moving on with my life, and I want a divorce. And then I ended up filing for divorce. I sure did. And I went through a lot of emotions even then, because now my marriage was over so abruptly. It wasn't like I had months and months and months of preparing for divorce. It was sudden. It was basically, I filed for divorce in October, and the marriage was okay. So we had separated in. Matter of fact, I know exactly what date we separated. We separated on July the 15th, 2020. That's when that situation happened. And I filed for divorce October, and our divorce was final December. All that within 5 months. It took 5 months. It was within 5 months. Bam, bam, bam. It was so quick. And and then I had my son, and he's asking about him. Where at this time he called him uncle. He didn't call him, like my husband now, he called him pops, because I adopted my son and I'm mom to him. So my husband now is pops. So he called my ex-husband uncle, because I was aunt to him at the time. And he was like, "Where's Uncle Key?" And I was like, "He's not here." And I had to explain to him that he was not coming back. That was hard to do. And recently I had to tell my son that he died. I was debating if I was going to tell him or not. But what I did not want to happen was that my son grew up and not know, and I didn't say. And then I ended up telling him, "Oh, he died way back when, that ain't cool." So I was like, well, let me just tell him. And then that was that. So now I'm going to change the tune. Let's change the tempo. All right, let's change the tempo. So remember I told you that the dream that I had about the flowers. Well, let me tell you what that dream actually meant. So after the funeral and everything, it came to me what those flowers meant. So with my business, I told you that a lot has been taking place. So what's going on now is that I have herbal teas and I have wellness teas. But the teas, what they do is for anyone who's suffering from diabetes, as well as diabetes prevention. I say you don't have diabetes, but diabetes running in your family and you don't want to get it. Well, I have teas for that. I have teas for high blood pressure. I wish I had all this stuff before he died, because I could have gave this stuff to him. I could have just sent it to his mom and say, "Hey, give this to him and have him, drink the tea every night, every day," and that could help manage his blood sugar. And then I also have teas for kidney, to blood cleansing tea to help cleanse your blood, your liver, your kidney, as well as other your intestines, your organs, stuff like that. It helps flush you out. Yeah, you're gonna go to the potty, but it cleanses you and it cleanses your blood and everything. And I have tea for sleep. So if you have insomnia and you can't sleep at night, I have tea for that. I'm telling you, that tea works. I drink that tea like every single night, and my husband does too. And I got different kind. I got the blue pea flower. I also have fairy tale, and that's a mixture of all types of different blends. I have a bunch of different blends, and I also have tea for weight loss. So if you're trying to lose weight, I have tea for that as well. And if you, let's say you finally got down to the weight that you want, but you don't want to gain any more weight and you don't want to lose any more weight, well, I have tea to help you maintain healthy weight. So that way your appetite, it helps with your appetite so you don't overeat and everything. And what else? I have tea for I already said detox. So we got tea for insomnia, and I have tea for stress. So if you dealing with anxiety or depression, or just needing to calm down because you're stressed, I have tea for that. Relaxation tea, it helps you relax and everything. So what you do if you want to purchase any of those teas, just go on my website. Go to imagingcoaching.com/tea, and you can see all the teas that I have. And so right now it's a lot of variety of teas, and each of them tell you what the tea is, the ingredients. It tells you the health benefits of the tea, where the origin of where the tea come from, and where the leaves and the plants and the flowers come from. Yes, flowers. I said, now that's what that was. Oh my goodness. So, and then I also have gourmet coffee. So the coffee that I have is gourmet coffee. The coffee is I got coffee from all over the world, okay? From Kenya to Somalia to Colombia, Mexico, India, coffee from America, Americana. I have all types of coffee. I have flavored coffee. I have cold coffee. I also have decaf. So whatever you're looking for, I have it. And if you want to purchase any of the coffee that I have, you go to imagingcoaching.com/coffee. Okay. So just go ahead and check all that out and everything. And so I have told you what's going on for this year, what have been happening from time to time throughout the year with me. And this would be the last podcast for this year, 2024. Next year, I'm going to come back with material for diabetes. So I wrote a book called The Diabetes Reset. Remember, I have mentioned that when I was married to my ex-husband that I was looking for a way to help him reverse diabetes. Well, I never stopped even after we divorced. I was still looking for a way, and I found it. So I wrote it in my book. It's a 13-week course that helps you reset your insulin to where your body will produce insulin on its own the natural way without being resistant to it and without you having to take medication. So hopefully, if any of you guys out there are diabetic and you don't want to continue to take medicine for the remainder of your life, well, this course will be a marvelous thing for you. You can already get the book. The book is already published. You can go to Amazon to get the book, or you can go to my website. If you go to my website, just go to imagingcoaching.com/books, okay? And you will see the book there, and you can go ahead and purchase it. Matter of fact, on my website, you can read just a little bit of the first few pages, so you can get an idea of what the book is and what's it entails and everything. So just go ahead and check that out. And if you don't have diabetes and you know someone else who does, this would be a perfect Christmas gift for them to help them start their new year off on a better note. Because I'm telling you, diabetes do kill. And you might not think it does, it does. I have an aunt who died of diabetes. She took too much insulin and it gave her a heart attack. So that's what her situation was. But to have this happen again to someone that I love, I don't want this to be something that happens to anyone else, especially knowing that I can help. So just take it upon yourself to go ahead and purchase a copy of the book. It's called The Diabetes Reset. And you can get started right away. You don't have to wait for me to put the course together, because it's going to take me a minute to actually put the course together, but the book is already done. And it's a step-by-step guide to let you know exactly what to do. And it takes you by the hand and walk you through every single day and every week of what you would do for 13 weeks to reset your diabetes. So by the time you go back to the doctor and you ask the doctor to do your A1C, you would be surprised, and your doctor will be too, of how much you have lowered your A1C down under a 7. Okay? Well, I'm signing out. This is Alayla.
Are you feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by stress? Introducing Stress Management with Imaging Coaching, your ticket to a calmer, more balanced life. In this journey you will be taking with us here at Imaging Coaching, we'll equip you with powerful techniques and tools you can use to conquer stress, regain control, and transform your life. From deep breathing exercises to mindfulness practices, you'll discover the tools to relax your mind and body. Come join us on this transformative path and unlock a world of inner peace and resilience. Don't let stress hold you back any longer. Take charge of your well-being today with Imaging Coaching, your stress management team. Discover clarity. Defeat stress through Imaging Coaching at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com.